You are listening to the Iconic Agent New Construction Marketing Podcast.
I'm Nathaniel Crawford.
And I'm Damon Green.
We've helped agents sell over $400 million in new construction since 2020.
And now we're here to skyrocket your sales.
Let's build your real estate empire and help you create the life you deserve.
In this episode, we discuss why you don't want to hand out business cards and other networking tips that'll get you remembered. So some networking tips. Now, I'm not the greatest networker because I've been spoiled because I attract people that want to work with me. So I can just sit here in a chair and they come in and be like, I want to work with you. And I don't have to go out, where you're the opposite. You're going out, you're shaking hands, kissing babies. But one of the things that I used to do back in the day, and I know it still works because I've done it with a few follow-ups recently. And there's tools you can use like BombBomb, Warm Welcome. I would do this old school before BombBomb and Warm Welcome existed. This is like 12 years ago I used to do this. So you go into an event, you go to a networking meeting, Chamber of Commerce meeting, and there's hundreds of people in there and everybody wants to tell you their business. And you want everybody to give you business. So y'all all there going, trying to get some business. You get a stack of business cards. You're talking to this person. Oh, great. You're talking to this person. Oh, yeah, it's great. Great time, great conversations. You leave. What happens? You forget who you talked to, or you're like, I don't know who this person is, or this card here doesn't have a picture. Agents usually put their faces on pictures. But you're looking at the cards like, so you send what do you usually do? Send like a blind text out like, hey, it was nice meeting you, or
pretty much.
Or some people only capture the people they want to talk to. So like they have pockets. I really want to talk to this person, so I'm gonna put it in my right pocket. I don't want to talk to this person as much, so I'll put it in my left pocket. You can write down what you talked about on the card. But what I would do is when I was talking to someone and we have a significant conversation, I'd say, okay, talk to Nate. We talked about, real estate trusts. And he got a guy that knows about real estate trusts. So I write that on the card. Then I'm talking to somebody else. I'm like, okay, this is Frank. And this is Susie. And Susie has a house for rent in an area that I'm looking at for vacation. So I'm going to write Susie's number down. And then what I'm going to do sometime throughout the course of the event, and this is before using BombBomb or Warm Welcome, I take a selfie of myself. Reason being, I'm wearing the same outfit the whole time. So I take a selfie, put it in my, it's in my gallery of my phone. Go on about, take some more notes, get some more cards. And then when time allowed and things kind of slowed down, or I do it right after, I'd walk around the corner, usually when it's fresh. So I talk to a few people. I'd walk around the corner, I'd walk somewhere and say, hey, Nate, it was nice meeting you. I really appreciate that information you gave me about the real estate trust. I'd love to learn more information if you can connect with your guy. Let's schedule some time to talk next week, and we can see what we can arrange. And I think I might have somebody to help you out with that problem you said you had. Boom. And I would label it Nathaniel Crawford, and I'd upload it to YouTube as a private video. And I do that with everybody. So, or if I didn't do it with everybody, I do it with the majority of the people, and then I would go back the next day and I would finish recording those videos. Then what I do is I have their cards already. So I go in there, okay, this is Nathaniel Crawford. I take this card and I'd send them an email using Gmail typically. And I take that picture, the selfie I took, the thumbnail, and upload it. And then I would link it to the YouTube video. So it looks like there's a video. When they click the picture, it takes them to the video. And because I have the same shirt on and I recorded the same shirt, so it looks like it was done there. They can see I did it there. They'll see at the event. This is why it works well at the event. They see that I did it at the event, which means I took the time to stop networking and go create a video at the event we just met at. So there's a lot of psychological factors with that. And then I would take the picture and I'd say something, kind of cheeky like, you know what, I'm sure you got a bunch of emails and I think emails are whack, so I shot you a short video. Watch this real quick and let's connect next week. Damon, phone number. And 9 times out of 10, people would follow back up and was like, I could not remember your name, but that was awesome. Like, nobody's ever done that. Like, that was really cool. Like, and it's personal to each person. It's not a, hey, it was nice meeting you at the Chamber of Commerce meeting. It's got their name. We talked about the specific topics we talked about, so it means that you're listening. There's a whole lot of psychology involved behind that, and it worked like gangbusters because people will come back like, that was so awesome, and I'm sure I got some business from it. This is when I was working with like small businesses and entrepreneurs and stuff, but I'm sure, I know at some point I got some business from that, but people loved it. Now, it is a little time intensive, but if you have a way to sort out the people that are really important or really have something of value that you can use or you can contribute, that's another thing too. If you're talking to them and instead of saying, oh yeah, if you can connect me with this person, that person's like, oh, you mentioned that you needed this. Well, I have a guy reach out to me. So now it's like, oh, wait a minute. You have a solution to my problem possibly. Now they're going to want to reach out to you. So that process works well. Now, if you use like a warm welcome or a bomb, and there's a couple other services too, those work really well, and they do the tracking and all that, so that's easier. You know, if you got the patience or to learn a new system or the money to pay for the recurring, if that's that's something you want to do, that makes it easier. But you just record it and send it, but it's the same premise. You're targeting a specific individual and you're talking about what you spoke about, which means you were listening to them. And now they're going to feel heard, and it's personalized. So they're like, yeah, I got to call this Nate guy because he really, or I got to call this Damon guy because he really, really put it in. So that's one thing that you will get tons of follow-up. And then, of course, double tap them. So you send an email out, like, hey, Nate, I just sent you an email response. Take a look at that. Let me know if you didn't get it, and love to talk to you soon. Nice meeting you yesterday. So now you're pushing them back through, and that's gonna increase your open rates. That's a guaranteed way to increase open rates, by the way. Send a text message after email. Yeah. So what's some networking tips that you have?
Well, one, to just piggyback on what you've been saying, is being intentional about the people you're trying to connect with. Like, you're not I heard Robert F. Smith speak years ago before he was a billionaire, and one of the most profound things he said, and it sounded pretty gangster to me, because when you go places, we have this reflex to want to give people business cards. And he's like, man, don't give me your business card if we're not going to do business. We're not here to just, oh, hey, good to meet you, good to meet you, good to meet you. So when you go places, being intentional about the people you want to meet, because they're worth stepping outside for a minute to do a follow-up video, because you're curating who you're focusing on, is very powerful. That being said, going to the places where the people you're trying to meet is even more important, because then those high value people are there. In the context of new and pre-construction, who are some of the best people to meet? Developers. How do you meet developers? Why would you want to meet developers? Well, one of the reasons you want to meet developers is because most of the developers are the Bruce Waynes of real estate. What do I mean by that? That means everybody knows what Batman looks like. Nobody knows what Bruce Wayne looks like. Everybody knows what the development looks like. Nobody knows what the developer looks like. So no one knows the guy with all the money. They just know what's getting built. And they go to sales centers, and the developer's sitting there in the corner drinking a cup of coffee, looking at everybody, and all these people are in and out, and none of the clients or agents coming in know who he is, and all of the on-site agents are super nervous because their boss is watching them. So
yep.
But when you can walk into the room and be like, hey, Mr. Kazi, how you doing? And he's like, oh, shoot, this guy knows who I am. How does that happen? Commission meetings. Commission meetings are one of the few places that I've found that you can go to, and you are extremely likely to be able to see a developer in person, usually without an entourage, and he's making the case about how wonderful his development is. So you get to hear him describe, or her describe, a development in their own words, what their vision is for the community, collaboration, all that other great stuff, who they're with, and then you can then walk up to them afterwards and, hey man, I'm really excited about what you're building. Hey, good to meet you. Why? Because there aren't a lot of people in those developers. Whenever developers want to build something, very often they end up at commission meetings trying to make the case for higher density or some sort of additional permissions from the local
variance or something.
Yeah, variance or something, and they have to go make the case for that. So they show up with an engineer or someone else. I've seen developers show up, or small developers show up with their whole family, with their kids, and because it's after hours. Most commission meetings are in the afternoon, evening, so they're showing up and they want to humanize themselves. So they don't come in looking like these big time developers. They look like regular people, and in doing that, provides me, as somebody who's trying to get relationships with them, or at the very least trying to know who they are, a way to see what they look like. Because if you're building something in Pompano, you live in Pompano, maybe I don't speak to you when you're at the commission meeting, but I will speak to you in the produce section at Publix. Hey, how you doing, Mr. Developer? And you're like, how do you know who I am? Well, it's my job to know who you are because I sell real estate. Wow, that's kind of impressive. Why? Because most agents don't know what the developers look like. So that's
and on a side note, along with that, if you just go to commission meetings, you're going to find out what's coming before everybody else does too.
Yep. You'll find out what's coming, what the priorities are, where the growth is going to, which can be very helpful for you if you already know businesses in the area, incentives, what's happening, what businesses are coming to the area. If businesses are coming to the area, if those businesses are going to do a lot of hiring.
That's like having a crystal ball.
That gives you forecasting on employment, on possible rent rates or rent opportunities. There's all types of cheat codes, all types of wonderful information that puts you eons ahead of the competition by going to commission meetings. Commission meetings are one of the most powerful cheat codes in real estate.
Absolutely. Now here, since we're talking about cheat codes and networking, on the flip side, if you're looking to generate leads, you can generate leads networking, doing what you're already doing. So something that Nate and I have talked about, and I've done this before, is if you want to deal with high net worth individuals and you want to communicate with them and you want to generate leads and sales from high net worth individuals, go to areas where high net worth individuals go. Where do they congregate? Ideally, where you would go, where you would go. And this is a conversation Nate and I had wasn't a heated discussion, but we had a discussion because I drink coffee, he drinks alcohol. And
that's the simplest way to put it, y'all.
That's the simplest way to put it. So what I've done is, in the past, my way of tithing and giving back is my way of tithing and giving back. One of the things I do is I'll sit in a coffee shop, and this is the kicker though. I sit in a coffee shop that I actually patronize regularly. So you'll see me in there once a week, maybe every other week, maybe a couple times a week, bring clients in there, do meetings in there, etc. So they've seen me or they know me. And I would just simply take $200-$300 and I'd go early enough to say to the baristas, here's $300. I'd like to pay for everybody's coffee, just the coffee, until that $300 is gone. And they'd be like, oh my God, like, why are you doing this? It was like, this is my way of giving back. But I'm doing it anonymous. Like, I don't want any kudos. I don't want flowers. Like, I might even leave. And then I'll give some money and tip the baristas. And I usually sit in the corner and I just sit down and do my work. And they were like, your coffee's taken care of. We had a patron that came in and took care of you guys. Oh, where are they? I want to thank him. Like, oh, he's gone. I'm sitting in the back, like, I'm watching people cry. Like, oh my goodness, this is my last, I could have to scrape the furniture out of my sofa, and like I found some change just to get in here, and like I've heard stories like that. This is my last couple dollars. I don't get paid for 2 weeks, and I needed my coffee, because you know how people feel about the coffee. So that was really cool. Now I did that as giving back, but then I reflected on that. I was like, I've seen churches, churches that are like new churches. They're setting up shop in auditoriums or in high school auditoriums, and they're trying to get the word out. They would do that and have some pamphlets up front. So when they come up and they're like, yes, it's been sponsored by, Christ's Church in the back, Christ Baptist Church. And they were like, oh, thank you so much. God bless you. And they sit down, we're like, hey, are you saved? And they'll do their mission thing and invite them out to church. And people would stop always and talk to them, because it's psychological, but if you ever read Reciprocity, Robert Cialdini's influence, reciprocity is a thing. If you give somebody something, they'll feel kind of indebted to you. Like, okay, well, I need to at least say thank you. And we've been raised that way, thank you. Flip that, and you do that with real estate to somewhere you've been. Now, I was trying to do it. I'm here in Fort Lauderdale. I was like, hey, let's go find a coffee shop. And then, Nate, what was your response with that? Like, why you pushed back? And it totally made sense after we had the conversation.
Yeah, well, you want to do it somewhere that, like you said, that you go regularly. You don't want you don't want to go somewhere where you're not a regular and then the regular sees you and then it becomes an awkward marketing ploy. Like, oh, you just showed up to get a bunch of pull. You just showed up to get a bunch of attention. Versus doing it somewhere, if there's the restaurant below my office, I'm there all the time at the bar for happy hour. I have my fish and chips. I have a couple of drinks. They see me all the time. So me coming in there and paying for drinks for happy hour would not be something, out of the ordinary because they see me. The other regulars see me there all the time.
Exactly.
However, if I go bounce into a coffee shop down the street where they've never seen me before, who's the bald head black dude with the colorful shirts who's throwing around money, that doesn't resonate. It just looks like it's some random dude who wants attention.
Yeah.
So making sure that when you do a strategy like this, that you're doing it somewhere that aligns with what you do. If it's Girl Scout cookies, go to the nearest Publix, pay for the next 200 boxes of Girl Scout cookies. When people walk out, they're like, oh, can I be in a box of Thin Mints? Oh, they've already been paid for by Mr. Green over there. Why? Because you love Girl Scout cookies. Like, that falls in line with whatever you're doing.
Yep.
So making sure that it's a wonderful strategy. It's going to get you in front of a lot of people, but you want to get in front of the right people somewhere that you're going to be regularly. Me getting all of that attention in a coffee shop that I'll never go back to doesn't really benefit me, the same way that you get a bunch of attention at a bar that you ain't gonna go back to wouldn't benefit you.
They don't know me.
Making sure it's in line with what you do, in your personal life, because you want to make sure that the people that are working with you in a lot of ways, a lot of times, because they identify with you on a social level, not just on a professional level.
Yep. So, and then of course, once they come in, then you have conversations, you hand out cards, you have conversations, and you're going to walk away with some leads. And if you do the math, you can see, so this cost me $10 a lead, but I got some really good conversation. And that similarity, like we both like this shop, or we both like this type of IPA or this type of vodka or whatever. Like when you have those conversations, now I will say, because we haven't done it at the bar yet, but I will say people spend more time in bars than they do in coffee shops.
Yep. So
there's longer conversations that you'll probably have versus in a coffee shop where you can get some information, but people usually come in and there's no takeout bars. That's kind of illegal.
Very true.
So that's another thing too. But that's a really great way, and I've done it. I've seen it done. We've given this tip to a couple of agents before. I think a few of them have taken advantage of it. Yep. This is just a little spin on it. Now, I think if he went to a coffee shop and did that, it would work, but it would work better where, like Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
Yep.
Thanks for tuning in to the Iconic Agent New Construction Marketing Podcast for Realtors. Subscribe now on your favorite podcast player. Visit theIconicAgent.com and grab the new construction buyer traction blueprint. And don't forget, join the 5,000 plus strong new construction marketing community at www.theIconicAgent.com/community. Catch you on the next episode.